Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Well, hello again, and welcome to this episode of the Get Trauma Informed podcast. We are here with the amazing LaSchell Steward. And before we get into our this is our mini series, so we are moving forward with the trauma informed leadership piece, right? And so we are here with, again, LaSchell. I'm so happy to have you here. She is so full of this is like birthing a gift in her. She is gifted to speak to this topic. So, LaSchell, how are you today before we get started in our conversation?
I am wonderful, Dr. Liz. How are you?
I am wonderful. I am always excited to be in your presence, and we have such an amazing exchange. Sometimes when we're talking behind the scenes, I want to press record because we have such rich conversations. So I'm excited today about this piece. So we're going to change our questions up just a little bit today because our first question, we want to know, what does trauma-informed leadership mean to you?
Oh, great. Okay. So again, thank you for inviting me back, Dr. Liz. I'm excited to be back here with you always. And just like you, we have such enriching conversations. And again, I'm just so glad to be here. But in regards to trauma-informed leadership, Liz, oh, this excites me. This gets me riled up. I believe trauma-informed leadership recognizes that everyone carries their own baggage, past experiences that can influence how we show up at work, our communication and our leadership style, how we delegate. We all have battle scars, some just a bit more visible than others. So for me, this kind of leadership is about creating a safe space, a place where folks feel comfortable asking for help, admitting mistakes, and taking risks without getting thrown to the wolves. You feel me?
Oh
You've
my
been there.
goodness. Oh my goodness, I have.
Yes, this is about, for me, clear communication and a leader, that management team that listens without judgment. So think of it like this, Liz. Trauma can make people a little wobbly, right? On their feet. But trauma-informed leadership is about being that steady hand for them, the coach or the mentor who builds them up instead of tearing them down. It's about celebrating wins, even the small wins alongside the big ones, and recognizing that setbacks are a part of the game, period.
Oh my goodness. She could drop the mic right there, right? She
Right.
said, period. That is so
Yeah,
true. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, that's so true. You hit on so many points. I couldn't even write them down fast enough. You talked about the battle scars, and I tell you, yes, we all do have those battle scars. But then when we get trauma informed and we have those leaders or that leadership that does create that safe space, because that's it right there. You just put
Yep.
the ingredients, the icing on the cake, right? You
Yep.
put the icing on the cake when you said that about the safe space, because I think that's the big issue. That's what's missing. And I think we don't even think about that when we're talking about the workspace. We're like bottom line driven goals. We're not even thinking about the people that will help us to get to those goals, right?
Yes, that's right. It's about leading with empathy, not just barking orders. Trauma-informed leadership means approaching situations with curiosity, not with a raised eyebrow and a whip. I've been a part of that system. Okay. It's about to try to understand what's behind the behavior, what's making the behavior happen, offering support instead of right away. punishment.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I can take it to, I mean, there are so many, and I mean, we're going to have a wonderful mini series here because as we uncover and peel back that onion, I know I've had so many experiences in the corporate world. People say, why are you so dedicated to entrepreneurship? Well, I didn't have the best experiences when I did attempt the corporate route. You know how our life is supposed to be labeled out or just mapped out for us, but that corporate experience did not. So when I didn't work for me, I wanted to create it, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
so, yes, I wanted to create it. And so, I can recall a situation where I've always, my mother taught us this, and I have to just put this out there for her today. She taught us that whatever you do, make sure that you do it the best.
Amen.
Whether you're sweeping streets or whatever you're doing, cleaning toilets, no matter what. So I had that instilled in me as a young girl. So that's what I came out here, eyes wide open, saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the best. And so as I got into corporate, when I did that, none of my bosses wanted to let me go. And that means they didn't want me to get to the next department for a promotion. And so
Right.
in my mind, I'm thinking, work hard, work hard, work hard. You're going to get promoted. And it was the opposite. See, that was not a trauma informed environment because I kept getting re traumatized. And because I had my own personal trauma, I kept feeling like, man, I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. You know, those tapes that we play in our heads.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
not good enough. That's why I'm not getting promoted. I had no idea until it was brought to my attention that because you are so good, that's why you're not getting promoted. And
That's
that
right.
re-traumatizes your people. Instead of helping them to elevate and be the best, you're holding them back and you're re-traumatizing them. And that is the message that I got when I was up for a promotion or applied for the promotion. And I think about it now, I go back to, I did the promotion. Think about this trauma. I waited until my boss was on vacation before I actually moved forward with putting the application in for the other department because I had fear, right?
Right. You
I
had
had
fear,
I had
right?
fear. And the thing of it was the other departments knew how he was. So I got hired while he was gone. And so when he came back, he was informed that I had applied and I had already it was interviewed and I already accepted the next position and given him his proper notice. When I tell you though, this is where it went over the line. When he heard about it, he took the claims that we were working with and slammed them against the wall. Everybody, I mean, it
Yeah.
was now think about that. More trauma, right?
Right, right. More
More
trauma.
trauma.
Right, right, right. And this is great. This is great what you're saying because number one, I must say, mothers do know best. So bless your mother for that. And what you're talking about, you're hitting it right on the head because what we're not talking about letting people slack off or slide or be disruptive without accountability. That's not what we're talking about here today. Like you said, we're here about creating a space where everyone can thrive, scars and all. Because the truth is, we all have scars. And like you mentioned, your trauma may be triggering my trauma. It's about building a team that's so strong, so resilient that we can weather the storm together with the right leaders, tools, and processes in place. So I love what you said, Liz.
Oh my goodness, that is so, and it feels, I mean, it absolutely feels, you can feel it when you're talking about it because I know when I was talking about that trauma,
Yep.
we warn people about trauma triggers because that can trigger somebody that's in the situation right now. So we don't give a challenge or a situation without giving the solution, right?
Right.
And what I want to offer is that this is the reason why we're putting together the holistic community and pulling all of the professionals together. Like LaSchell is so powerful in this and informed in this industry as far as the trauma informed leadership, right? So I want you all to be in the lookout for workshops that we are putting together that we're going to bring to you so that you have solutions, because you say, wow, yes, I'm in this situation, but how do I work through it? Like, what do I do? Because this is, I have to pay my bills, and we get that. So we just wanted to let you know, as we continue to go through the trauma informed leadership and the mini trauma talks, we're going to bring those resources to you. Right now, we are working through the awareness piece to let you know that you are not alone, to give you hope, and to let you know that there are steps available. For me, I work with, my programs are called, one of my programs is Beyond Trauma, right? And we want to be able to help you to understand and become aware that there are systems and there are programs available to assist and to help you. So our words here today are to let everybody know there is aware, just to be aware, and even some of the people that are in corporate that are not even aware of what you are doing to other people, because you are triggering them, and we're going to bring examples and just different things so that we can start getting this conversation going and really doving into this part of the movement, because Get Trauma Informed is a movement. It's not a one and done, y'all.
Yeah.
It's a movement, and it's a community that we are building to be able to help. And we want to let you know we're the survivors turned thrivers as well.
That's right. That's right. We are. We are. And we want to let them know, we want them to have a real deep rooted understanding of organizational trauma. Okay. We're not talking about this simple everyday workplace stress or occasional setbacks. That's not what we're talking about here. Rather, it refers to systemic and prolonged experiences of distress, dysfunction, and harm within an organization that leads a lasting effect on individuals, a team, even, or even the overall culture. In many cases that I've had the pleasure of helping to train and having my own personal experience. But it's not just about those isolated incidents, Dr. Liz, but rather patterns of behavior and systematic issues that undermines people's well-being, like your promotion, engagement, and organizational and performance. Those are critical aspects of organizational trauma.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I get that. And when we talk about organizations, we talk about the across the board. We're talking about corporate, we're talking about even group organizations.
That's
We're
right.
talking about even in churches, right? That's an organization,
That's
and
right.
there's leadership and there's tiers there. And in order to get the successful outcomes, we have to dive into each one of those levels or each one of those layers. Because if you have a person that is not trauma informed and does not understand, and they are the ones that are responsible for putting together the programs, the systems, the strategies, they're not involving that piece, which is a huge piece. And I just want everybody to understand that on all different levels. So
That's
this
right.
is this is a movement, and I am so excited to lock arms with you, LaSchell. And, I know you all, you're going to completely adore her as she continues to, bring the information, as she continues to work through it with you, and just dropping a lot of the nuggets that is totally necessary for us to actually implement the processes that we're talking about.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. We are.
Right. So
Absolutely.
I want to ask you this too. How has trauma empowered and inspired you in regards to leadership?
Mm. So, I've been, as you know, I'm a survivor of organizational trauma as well, which stem from dysfunctional leadership, actually toxic leadership. We refer to it as burnout, all kinds of things I went through. So, trauma-informed leadership, um, as far as empowering and inspiring me, um, actually it has been a profound source of of empowerment and inspiration in my journey. It has opened my eyes to the depth of human experiences and the resilience that lies within each of us. I believe witnessing the transformation, the transformative impact of trauma-informed practices on individuals and organizations firsthand has fueled my passion for creating positive change. Like you, I became an advocate, right? Through my training and personal coaching programs. But on a personal, deep rooted level, trauma informed leadership has empowered me to confront my own vulnerabilities and past experience with courage and compassion, understanding that it wasn't my fault, right? Yes, I had some growing, I had some other things to do, but it's not always your fault. Okay. And I'm not in denial. That's not what I'm talking about. But we got to understand what that is and how to work with that as well, right? So, what it taught me, it really taught me the importance of self awareness, right? Empathy and authenticity in my interactions with others. That's what I knew I needed to be better at. So, by embracing trauma informed leadership practices and approaches, I discovered new depths of understanding, both for myself and for those I've had the privilege to lead and support. So it's been profound for me, Liz. It really has, because I look at what happened to me and I vow to make sure that I'm not bringing my trauma on others.
That is so powerful. I want us to sit with that just for a little bit. That is amazing. Um, because I say your purpose meets your passion equals your purpose meets your person, and that equals passion.
Mm,
And I love that because
mm,
that's been my journey. That's been my
yeah,
experience. And as I was going through my recovery in just learning who I really am and pulling all of those shattered pieces back together and being supported. And these are the key components to a successful recovery, self-care plan and journey, right? The
yes.
support is absolutely necessary, the authentic support, because we can have people around us all day long being a yes person and saying yes to this and yes to that, but somebody that can really help you in a gentle though coaching way, that can help you to guide you into the flow of being this amazing person that you're purposed to be. Because I say this over and over again, like what you just said too, trauma is not your fault. However, recovery is your responsibility. And
That's
this is
right.
taking responsibility for your recovery, for your self-help, your self-care, and your self-help. That's what this is all about. And so I hear, and I'm thanking so many people for the positive feedback, because we're touching on topics that are just not talked about. It's just, we just keep going along to get along. And
That's
it's
right.
time out for that, because that's when these explosive situations happen. And we say, wow, that person was so sweet. That person was so kind, or that person, but why did they just blow up? And why did they become so destructive when it was already there? Because trauma is progressive.
It is.
It's progressive, right? And
It's
so
so progressive. You,
it doesn't go away. We think oh, I got over that. That was when I was young. They said, why didn't you just leave that back there? I can't, because it keeps coming along with me. Every time I turn around, it's right there. So guess what? We have to stop and we have to face it. And once
that's
we
right.
do that,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
start on this recovery journey.
Yes, yes. That unresolved conflict, man, that is one of that's one of those, blow up situations. Yeah, when you're dealing, you got me laughing because I'm just going back and thinking about how, I was under just this toxic leadership, and it wasn't just one person, right? It was just a whole clique of them, and they just stuck together. And that was just their leadership style. It was in the culture of the organization. And there was just a very unhealthy work culture. There was lack of support, um, excess, workload and burnout, unresolved conflict. And I now I look back and guess what? I used to cry, but now I laugh
Right.
because thank you for helping me, get over this and to understand it was not my fault, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and just always talking with you, Liz, um, I learned so much as well. And you've helped me on my journey. And so this is a journey, ladies and gentlemen. And it's
Yes.
one that's really, really, really satisfying when you can actually look back and know that you are a survivor.
Oh, absolutely. And that's amazing. That's incredible because I think about, as we started to pull this project and this collaboration together, and I think about that, I think about how I would look and listen to you, and it was, nuggets that I'm like, wow, that is amazing. Because you think about that in leadership, or you think about that in corporate, and you started to trigger some of the thoughts, some of the stories that I have gone through, and say, you know what, that's amazing when you can have that effect on one another, when you can see the
Yes,
beauty in your collaborative partner, your associate, your friend, when you can see that and you can pull out that beauty in them. Because I think a lot of times our trauma causes us, and we want to get into some conversations about women and how our issues, how we clash with one another when it's not even the person that we're clashing with, it's our trauma. And when you can finally put your stuff on the table and say, hey, okay, yes, that was me, right? Because you go from 1 to 1,000, like, because you get this whole thing up in front, and nobody's going to do this to me again. And it's like your inner child is like banging on the table, like, no, this is not going to happen to me again. But when we can face all of that and put it out there, get rid of the shame, get rid of the blame, get rid of the pointing the fingers and all that other stuff, and say, hey, yes, I've been through this traumatic experience and I have all this trauma residue on me. What do I need to do? And you learn to be vulnerable. You learn to be open, but you said it earlier, and I love it, the safe place. So we're creating safe space so
that's
that we
right.
can blossom into, going from the caterpillar to the butterfly that we're intended to be, right? Our own beautiful, unique selves. But until we get rid of that trauma that we've been burying, until we get rid of that, it's going to keep hindering us from being able to walk into that freedom, right? And I have to
Mm.
say, even though we're audio, everybody, I can still see her, and she is absolutely glowing today. She is absolutely beautiful. And I love to see my sisters glow. I love to see that. And it's amazing because that's what's on the inside. It actually does
Yes,
show on the outside, right?
yes, it does. Yes,
I
it
want to
does.
say, do something beautiful to somebody today, to another one of our traveling sisters. So we have men and women on the, listening, and we have men that come on as well. But today, I just want to say to our sisters, make sure that you do something beautiful to, even if it's a stranger, open the door for her. We have no idea what somebody has went through to get to that point of the day.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine driving down the road, enjoying a beautiful day, when suddenly a tree jumps out in front of your car. Crash! In an instant, your life is flipped upside down, both physically and psychologically. That was my reality. I'm Liz Blanding, a certified holistic wellness and trauma recovery coach. In a time when, according to the National Center for PTSD, the epidemic of trauma is on the rise, 70% of adults in the U.S. have experienced some type of traumatic event at least once in their lives. That's 223.4 million people who could benefit from support on their journey to recovery. To address this, I launched the Get Trauma Informed podcast in March 2024. Our podcast offers free information, resources, expert advice, and stories of those who have overcome trauma and shifted from surviving to thriving. The podcast has the capacity to reach hundreds of thousands of people. I believe that by partnering with the Get Trauma Informed podcast, we can provide critical support to many more people who need it. Trauma was not their fault, but recovery is their responsibility. And with your support, we can help them to achieve it. Thank you for considering the partnership opportunity. I look forward to the possibility of working together to make a significant impact on trauma recovery. Email us at info@oasiswellnessctrs.com or contact us at 616-320-0703. Now we will return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
Yes, amen. I love that. I love that. I love that because what I love about what you said, the two top things that we want to think about when we know that we are a trauma informed leader. The two top, there's many, but I just want to hit on this really quickly. We talked about creating safe spaces. That's one thing that a trauma-informed leader prioritizes. And the second, building viable, meaningful relationships. Trauma-informed leaders prioritize building strong, supportive relationships with their peers, their teams, their family. They take the time to listen actively, to validate experiences, Liz, and demonstrate empathy and understanding. So I love what you're saying. And again, there's a lot of other things that these leaders do, but I'm telling you, those are the top two. When you can get those two together, you're on your way to being just a dynamic leader.
Wow, you took the question out of my head. I was going to say, what would you say to someone that is not only both sides of it, someone that's facing trauma in the workspace, but I was going to say, what would you say to that person that may have, ran across our podcast and said, wow, something that they said, well, corporate, wait, am I that person? Did I just snap on somebody for no reason? Wait, I got some trauma going on here that I didn't even recognize because there was no reason for me to throw that basket of claims over that wall because somebody wanted to advance themselves or get angry. So I guess the question then would be, what would you say to someone that is facing trauma in the corporate environment?
Great. Well, first and foremost, you must take care of yourself. Trauma in the workplace isn't anything to play with. I played with it too long. Okay. And here's some hard-hitting, hard-earned advice from a woman who's been there. And I stayed in that space way too long. But first and foremost, don't suffer in silence. Whew. Talk to someone you trust. Okay. And it's going to be hard, right? Because that's sometimes part of the trauma, you know. But a friend, a family member, a therapist like Dr. Liz, you got to talk to someone. You don't suffer in silence. Bottling things up will only make it worse. There's no shame in seeking help, and it's a sign of strength, not weakness. And second, I would say focus on what you can control. You can't control the actions, the ill behaviors of others, but you can control your own responses. Be selfish, right? Focus on taking care of yourself, setting boundaries, and developing healthy coping mechanisms. Now, that's if you decide to stay in that ring. Now, on the other hand, prioritizing your safety and well-being. This might sound obvious, right? But it's crucial. If your workplace feels unsafe or toxic, get yourself out of there. It's not worth sacrificing, like I did, your mental and emotional health for a title or a paycheck. There are good companies out there that value their staff and their people, and you deserve to run or to work in one of those safe spaces.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And thank you for that. I am a certified recovery coach, and we do have recovery programs that are, they can fit into your day to day, but it will help you to manage. It will help you to self-care. It will give you those coping skills and those practices and the modalities. It'll give you some ways to relieve the stress. It'll give you some ways in order to, because oftentimes our shoulders are so tight because we carry all that stress in our shoulders, and we're walking around like that. And once you get into a trauma-informed program, or a program to help you with the support, and if it's the right program, your shoulders start to relax, and you start to walk into what we understand now is that freedom, and you start walking into your own recovery. You're taking charge of your own well-being, as LaSchell just talked about. So, and also listening to the podcast, just sitting back and actually taking notes. And I love podcasts because you can rewind and take more notes. That's what I do when I'm listening to my podcast, different podcasts. I take notes because there's so much great information out there. And also, oftentimes, and you understand, like I say, grab a dedicated notebook and start journaling this journey, right? As you're writing notes down. The one thing I love about journaling, and we have a blog on our website as well, and the blog also addressed journaling. And the reason why it's so important is because when you write it down, one, you're getting it out, right? You're getting it out. You're not holding all that toxic thought process or toxic, you're not holding that toxicity in. So you're letting it out, right? That's one form of relief. And then you're able to now go back. So not even a year from now, we take little bite-sized pieces, like even a week or 3 weeks or a month, you're able to look back and see your progress, or you see where you're stagnated and you say, wait, okay, I need something right there and that. And that's what coaching is all about, guys. It's, I'm naturopathic, and I believe in holistic practices for wellness. So I'm not talking about, and I have nothing against the way that some people need to cope with it with medications or what have you, but it's awareness and finding out what is best for you and what's going to work out best for you. So I get so excited about these conversations because I know that, and because of the feedback, people are starting to become aware.
That's right. They are.
And so
really
that's incredible. So before we sign off for today, is there anything else that you want to leave the audience with?
No, I just really want to reiterate, like, some of the deep conversations that you and I have together. We just want people to remember your worth is not defined by your position or a dollar amount. And Liz, as a coach, I, as a leadership coach, we understand this experience may feel devastating, but it doesn't define us, right, Liz? It doesn't define us. We are strong, resilient, and deserving of respect. We got to remember and believe that. So don't let anyone take away your dignity, right? Now, we're not saying this is going to be easy, right? But together, you can just here's the deal. You are tougher. We are tougher than we think. Look at what we've gone through. Lean on your support system, be your own advocate, and remember there's a whole world of opportunity waiting for you on the other side. You got this. Thank you, Dr. Liz, for having me.
Thank you. And I'm going to leave it with you got this. I'm going to leave it with you got this, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. And we're here at the end of that tunnel to help you. Thank you so much, LaSchell. We appreciate you today. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you are collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.